Welcome to Permission to Shine, the space where high-achieving women like you come to peel back the layers, overcome what's been holding you back, and rise into your most authentic, powerful self. I'm your host, Sharice Bisram, inner power activation leader and intuitive healer, and a woman who knows what it means to look like she's thriving on the outside, also while feeling disconnected on the inside. This podcast is here to remind you, you didn't come here to just perform, you came here to lead with your soul. Your obstacles, they're invitations to expand. And your power, it was never outside of you. It's been waiting within you all along. Each week we'll dive into honest conversations, healing insight and soul-led strategies to help you stop self-sabotaging, reclaim your light and lead your life, your business and your relationships from deep-rooted truth. So if you're ready to rise with grace, softness and fire, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 96. I am so excited to speak to you about what I have to say today. And if you've been following the podcast for, in time and catching up with them as they roll, you will know that I've had a really difficult few weeks and been battling lots of internal shifts. Now, externally, there's still lots of things going on that I can't control right now, and that's still difficult. But stepping out of that and actually focusing on things that I can control I don't like the word control, right? But the parts of what is happening in my life that I can, have my own intention with, the parts that are mine. I've really been working on them in the background, that's everything that I teach. So just like a bit of an overview, that I had an aunt's funeral a few weeks ago, and it was really hard. It was with the side of my family that I don't speak to very often, and it brought up all of the abandonment wounds from my past. And I've sat in that kind of cloud of those emotions and been processing them for weeks, as I said. And it was only probably the last few days that I really sat in those emotions and again was working through them, writing the letters, doing the things that I teach, and something came over me like a real wave of understanding. And it was that if I'm truly to move through what it is that I'm holding on to right now, I need to forgive. And I know that when it comes to healing and it comes to doing this work, so many people will get to a point where they've processed their emotions, they've processed, the understanding of it, where it came from, they accept it and they're releasing it, but they're missing that crucial part that in order to really heal on a deep level, you need to forgive the people that hurt you the most. And it's not for them, right? It is not for them, it's for you. But something really beautiful and profound happened in this time, because I was releasing, writing the letters, saying what I knew I needed to say in order to feel the peace for myself. And the opportunity came to reconnect the family again. Now, I was met with two sides of this coin, whether I, do what's safe and I know, which is to pull back and keep my peace, keep myself quote unquote safe, right? Or I could choose to do things differently. And I was aware that the universe presented me with that opportunity to move differently. And, I've said to you all over and over again, I am a cycle breaker. That's what I'm here to do in this lifetime, is to break cycles. So I know for a fact that I had to do this because I didn't want to repeat what had already been done. And it's this, blaming other people and throwing it around like it's a hot coal, right? I don't want to do that. I knew that there was a part of me that still needed to take accountability for the part I play in things, right? Now, I'm not to blame for any of my family dynamics at all, right? But if I want to see change, I have to create it. And that's exactly what happened. So literally just yesterday, I went to see the family and it was so healing. And the reason it was healing is, one, because I was open. Two, I'd already energetically forgave them. So then the opportunity to have that conversation arise, and I was be able to articulate exactly what I needed to say. And in turn, I actually received what I really needed to hear. And this is the inner child in us, right? There'll always be a part of us that wants to hear, I'm proud of you. There'll always be a part of us that wants to hear, I'm sorry. And real deep inner work is obviously getting an apology you never got, right? It's in your mind saying, okay, I received this apology, from these people energetically, and that in itself can be peace. And that's how I felt, right? When I went into this family environment, I'd already made peace with the fact that I might not get an apology here, but I'm showing up to create a new way of doing it. And I actually did. And the reason I tell you all of this and I'm being so explicit with it is because this is a part of healing that no one wants to do or talk about. And even with my clients, we get to a point where we're moving and shifting really big things. It comes to telling them they need to forgive, and they're like, oh, don't know if I could do that. And then we have that saying, oh, we forgive, but we don't forget, and all that stuff. But I reframe that so differently because the thing is, if you're not forgetting that, which obviously you're not going to naturally, right? But then you're holding it over someone still. There's still a part of you that's holding it over them. Whereas if you can say, I forgive this situation and release it, you move differently for it. And if you can trust yourself enough to know that you're going to move differently, that other situation is never going to arise again because you're not going to play yourself small. And this comes to all scenarios. This comes to friends. This comes to lovers, which I get all of the time with clients, as I said, friends, family members, like even just down to this last week, I've had these conversations about how if you want to really move forward with whatever it is in your life, wherever you are, you have to release the past, right? And the integral part of that is what I'm talking about. This crux here is the forgiveness part. And a lot of people are also walking around with shame, shaming themselves for the mistakes they made or thinking they could have done things better or changed the way things were. We can't do things differently, but what we can do is again forgive ourselves. And that's exactly what's happened in these healing conversations with my family, is that I could see in themselves that through me coming forward and articulating how I felt and holding the space for them, they was able to say how they felt, and also in it they were forgiving themselves for a part that they played in a scenario that they weren't proud of either, because I wasn't blaming them. I was saying how I felt. And that this is the work I teach, is how we articulate that. What are the right words, if you were to have that conversation, but equally it's all for you. None of it's for anyone else. And if I went to that family environment and I didn't have that conversation with any of them, yes, it would have been uncomfortable, but it would have dissipated because I'd let go of the boundary, the wall, the hard exterior, and I feel so much softer in myself for it. And I do feel like for me, finally, after weeks of feeling confined by my past and these traumas that came to the surface again, that my wings are fully expanded and I feel really free and really loved and really open. And I think that this is why I share all of this with you, because I want you to feel that for yourself, in whatever it is. I want you to get really clear on what is the thing that you are holding on to from someone in the past, from maybe your parents, maybe an ex. What is that one thing that you're still holding on to when you think of them? Like, what is that thing that you are ready to release? Because if you're listening to time, we have the Scorpio full moon. We're in that energy right now, and the Monday is where it's going to be at its peak. But at any point in your life that you're listening to this, releasing is so important. Like, you can't move forward. It's literally a boulder that you're creating in your pathway. And in order to really, be able to move forward fully without the hardship, is to let that boulder completely crumble. And that comes through that forgiveness piece. And what I'll say on that, again, coming down to this part of healing that no one's talking about, is it does require some accountability. And this conversation that I said I had with a friend, I was sort of saying to her, and this is the forget part, we're talking about forgive and forget, like this part here. It's like, what part of you played in that relationship that made that okay? And in some situations, this doesn't apply, right? I'm making that disclaimer. Sometimes it doesn't apply. But if it comes to friends that you're bending over backwards for, and then they all of a sudden throw it in your face and say, you haven't been there, you're not a good person, rah, rah, rah. And you know that you have been a good person, but you've not been clear on your boundaries. You've not said how you feel, and you've been doing everything for everyone else and not actually doing anything for yourself. That there is where you have the chance to do things differently. So if that happened and that friend came back to you and said, oh, you're a rubbish friend, blah, 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 could be a colleague, whatever it is, employee, whatever it is for you in your life, could even be your child, that says to you, oh, you should have done this better, rah, 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 rah. You can actually take accountability and say, do you know what? I've got to be really honest with you. I've actually not been sharing fully how I feel because I was putting your needs before mine. And I can now see that that didn't serve any of us, And I know that if we are to move forward, I need to be more honest with you about how I'm actually feeling and hope that you understand that I'm doing the best I can. That in itself is such a healing space to be in. And obviously, we account for um people's feelings, or it's always nice to apologize but the way someone feels, but equally you don't have to, and this is that uncomfortable part because I think it's so easy to blame. It's so easy to hold on to resentment. Like, I know for me that in the situation when the family invited us, I had always made peace with not going, like because we spoke about it a couple of weeks ago, and then nothing, I'd heard nothing, and then all of a sudden, 2 days before, it's like, yeah, we're gonna go. I was like, oh, this is, do I want to keep doing what I've done here and just distancing myself? And again, it's like, does that help anyone? Does it really help anyone? And I think this is where we have to get really accountable, like I said, for ourselves to be like, really and truly, is this something that I want to keep doing? Now, you don't have to forgive people if it feels like um for them, right? What I'm saying is you don't have to forgive them to have them back in your life. You have to forgive them for you. That's the key part here. And in all situations, if it's exes, especially if you've been in abusive relationships, you are not forgiving them for them. You are not giving them the satisfaction that of everything they've done to you and all those things. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is you need to let go of that grudge, of that heartbreak, of those hard feelings. Because unfortunately, like I said, you're carrying the hot coals in your hand and you are burnt. You are taking them into your next relationship. You're coming in with burnt hands. Whereas if you dropped all of those hot stones, you allowed yourself to heal fully, which is what happens automatically from that forgiveness space. You're then going to move into the next relationship with open arms. And isn't that what you deserve? Because I feel like in myself more than ever, my arms are wide open now. And it came from first creating that energetic forgiveness. And then the universe responded to me with actual reality of what it was in my heart that I felt like I needed. But that again came from me first doing the energetic work. And I can't stress enough how you have the full, I do, the right word is control here in yourself, in your circumstance, how you move through things. That is down to you, right? And you can choose to stay closed and you can choose to stay angry and resentful, but then you'll just keep repeating the same patterns you've seen over and over again, and you don't end up healing or moving through it with grace. And this is where grace really is in saying, I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. Where is harmony in this situation? And that for me has been my goal for a really long time. And a friend of mine, we're actually not close anymore, but she actually said that to me. She went, when it comes to arguments, if you're not looking for harmony in that argument, it's not worth having it. And I'll say that again for you, whatever that is in your life, what does the harmony look like in that situation? Because if you're going back and forth with a partner and you keep butting heads with each other, you keep, arguing, you're at wit's end, you're not actually in a place where you're happy, or, you're not making each other happy, what would the harmony be in that situation? Would it be that you both are better off as separate entities and going about your lives, separated? Or is it that the key thing here is that you both love each other deeply and you're both just battling your own demons? And actually, you need to come together and have a conversation and just express that. Because what happens is, you're trying to do something for someone else, they're trying to do something for you, and your love languages are butting heads because that's not what the other person needs at that time, and it gets more complicated, confusing, blah, 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 right? This is how it all entangles. That's with relationships, with friendships, with work situations. And this is why having boundaries is so important. But for anyone listening, you have to be comfortable in speaking your truth. And that sometimes is uncomfortable. But when you have rehearsed what you need to say through journaling, writing letters, in your mind going over this dialogue or even voice note and what it is you need to say before you say it, you will get more confident in that space. But I've been in so many uncomfortable situations in my life where I've had to just speak. I've had to speak up for when something doesn't feel right, or watching someone go to bully someone. Like, my natural reaction in my life is to always stop something. You might not have that. Your response to whatever was happening in your life. Now, this is all fight, flight, and freeze, for anyone that knows about that. Mine's always been fight, that even to this day, there is still a part of me that will say the bit, right? And I choose now more so. I don't have this innate reaction that, like, I was talking about like Venom, the Marvel character, how Venom just comes out of Tom Hardy's body and he's like bites the heads off of people. That's almost like what I used to be for sure. Now that's not there. It's like I have this like little nudge. It's like, should I say something? Should I not? And sometimes I do. Sometimes it falls out of my mouth. But now, as I said, I'm so well rehearsed in my understanding of myself that I'm never coming from a place of shame and blame. And if I ever am, it's my hormones. And I know that because the thoughts in my head at that time, I'm like, wow, I really need to just hide for a couple of days just while I sort myself out. But again, as women, what can we do, right? That's part of the parcel. But again, protecting your energy at that time, making sure that you aren't busying yourself with lots of plans in that time. And, I've worked with mentors that specialize in working with your cycle, and that's really important. So for anyone that's thinking the same thing, like, oh gosh, yeah, my hormones do play a massive part in how I react. Work with your cycle, find mentors that work with their cycle, because I tell you what, that makes such a massive difference, even down to energy levels. But that's a side note. Um, but yeah, what I'm saying is, if you're listening to this right now and you're thinking, bloody hell, there's a lot of people that I need to forgive then, and it feels overwhelming, write a list. Write a list of the people in your life, and do this when you're in a calm environment. Like I said, full moon energy is great to utilize 3 days before, 3 days after. We're in that pause. If you're listening to time, yes, any full moon you listen to, this works. And or just do it, right? Light a candle, sit down, get your journal out. Who in your life right now is taking up space in your energy? This isn't actual literal. This is like in your mind when you're thinking about all the times you were hurt, who are the people that come forward? Because we've all got it, right? You write them down, all these people. Write down what it is you're, upset about, or, what the thing is that you need to forgive them for. It could be that you watched your granddad speak down to your mum her whole life, and now your mum is a small version of herself when actually she if he didn't speak down to her, she would have been able to be more confident as a person, right? This is just a random example. And maybe your granddad passed away and now you're like, oh, that's gone, and that got buried with him, but yet to this day it still irks you. That is a sign, that's a trigger. When you think about that person and it makes you feel like, ugh, that's a sign that more releasing needs to be done there, right? So go through that list and write all these things down. Then you can either, if it's a really long list, this will take you ages, so you don't have to do this. You can write one big letter and just write down the list of all the people that you're releasing, and the thing you're releasing that you are forgiving them for, right? And if you have more time, do it individually. Say, for example, your list is only one or two people, right? Exes or whatever. Get really clear on what you actually know to be true about them, because if we take the granddad scenario for example, the reason your granddad might have spoke down to your mum so much is because his dad was like that to him. And he actually thought that was the only way you were supposed to love, is because you wanted the best for people. So you pushed them harder because you wanted them to work harder so they could be the best version of themselves. Right. And that might have just been it. But unfortunately, your granddad didn't have the right words to articulate and say that more, and he was never shown love, so he didn't know how to love your mum enough. So actually you forgive him for the childhood he had, that then rubbed off onto your mum, and actually might have had a knock-on effect on you as well. This is where we forgive. This is the deep work. That is my, like, this is what I'm amazing at, is this part. So I hope even in that, that's reframed something massive for you. And if it has, and this is like, sparking something deep within you, this is my invitation to you that we need to do some work. So, there's my self-study in the links below. Also, I have an offer at the moment called Becoming Iconic, and it's a VIP session. So it's literally 90 minutes, and we get to the root of these parts here. So if you're feeling like, I'm not ready to do a full journey yet, but I know there's some things on the surface that I need to let go of, or things that are triggering me still that I'm passing on to everything I do, and I'm not who I want to be, this is for you here. Even if it comes to like confidence blocks or public speaking blocks or just moving forward in your life. Maybe it's yeah, you want to be able to stand up and own everything you are, and there's something holding you back there. This is what this offers for. So please do drop me a DM, and let's have a chat. Let's speak about what that looks like for you, because this is what I'm really good at, because I'm doing it all the time, and I can't tell you how every day for the last few weeks, I felt like there was like a dark cloud or heaviness over me. And now I don't feel like that. I feel like today again, and I don't always feel heavy and dark, by the way. It's just been that there's been lots of back-to-back things that have happened with family, because of death and, illnesses and things like that that's still happening in my life. But the key part to all of this is that, I was able to get clear on what it was that I wanted to feel again, what I wanted harmony to look like. So then that is exactly what has manifested for me in my reality. And I know from this feeling here that this is where I needed to get to lead you all again through it. And I always do, finding the light in the darkness, right? And this light that I feel, I'm shining so much brighter. And I feel it with all of me. I feel so soft and feminine today. And that's so wonderful for me, because from someone that spent their life feeling very hard and heavy, when heaviness does come over to me now, I don't have the armor to carry it anymore. So I do crumble every time it's hard. And I had definitely have crumbled over the past few weeks and still kept getting up, because that's how we rise, right? We keep standing up even when things feel difficult. And yeah, I teach this because I live it. And now I'm finally risen again. I'm flapping my wings and yeah, soaring. And it feels really amazing. And you deserve to feel this too. So I hope in your heart that you have that want to forgive, for you, so you can find the freedom that you truly deserve. And if this is calling you and your soul is like, feeling this pull from me, then come, let's have a chat, like let's help you get to the part where you get to feel fully free again. Because, and you might never have felt it before, and I know 100 million% that I can help you feel that way, because it's what I do. And I even feel like for myself and my family, those conversations I had with them, I know it made an impact for them too. And actually, one of my family members said to me, it's not fair that you have to break the cycle. And I'm like, but if I didn't do it, who else would? And they were like, yeah, absolutely that. So here we are, shining our light out onto the world and making the world a better place. And yeah, sending lots of love to you. Happy full moon in Scorpio if you're listening to time. And I hope that, yeah, you find the forgiveness, you release what no longer serves you, so you can fully rise and shine as a beautiful person that you absolutely are. So sending you lots of love, and yeah, I'll speak to you soon.
If this episode resonated with you, please do like, share, and send to someone you know that would benefit. If what I've said in this episode resonates with you, please don't hesitate to drop me a message so we can begin your journey of self-empowerment through self-discovery. My process is simple. Understand what happened to you so you can accept it. From there, you can release what no longer serves you, and then we begin to rebuild your self-worth, your self-esteem, and your self-trust to ultimately ensure that you become the version of yourself that you were destined to be. Time to give yourself the permission to